I caught my husband red-handed using my money to take his mistress on a luxury trip. So I threw water on that beat and cut off all his payments. Can you imagine catching your husband red-handed? Not just cheating, but using your hard-earned money to whisk his mistress away on a luxury trip? Well, that was my reality. And trust me, the payback I delivered was swift, public, and oh so satisfying. For 5 years, Matthew and I had what I thought was a solid, steady marriage. No kids, so life felt pretty uncomplicated. We rarely even argued. But then, about a year ago, everything changed. He lost his full-time job, downsizing, they said. Since then, he'd been freelancing, picking up odd gigs, but his income just plummeted. And honestly, it really wasn't enough to sustain us. I, on the other hand, was doing really well. As a regional manager, I made a good living, enough to comfortably support us both. But it meant the financial burden of our life together shifted almost entirely onto my shoulders. We used to contribute equally, but now, with his income nearly halved, I was the primary provider. It was a big change. Then, about 3 weeks before everything blew up, Matthew came to me with a request. He wanted to go to Europe with his old college buddies. And, of course, he asked if I could pay for it. He promised to pay me back once he found a steady job. I wasn't thrilled, but I figured maybe it would be good for him. A change of scenery, a chance to reconnect with friends. Maybe it would even be the wake-up call he desperately needed. Because lately Matthew had become unmotivated. Every time I came home, there he was, glued to the TV or lost in video games, endlessly snacking. It wasn't just relaxing, it was a routine. A habit that was turning into a serious concern. I'd gently nudge him about job hunting, but he never seemed to feel the urgency. So, I paid for his flight tickets, secretly hoping this trip would light a fire under him. As his departure date drew closer, Matthew's excitement was palpable. He talked endlessly about all the sights he'd see, the food he'd eat, the memories he'd make with his friends. I tried to be supportive, even helped him pack. That's when I noticed something odd. Tucked neatly into his suitcase was this incredibly expensive-looking suit. Now, Matthew hates formal wear. I mean, this is a man who shows up to date nights in shorts and a t-shirt. I practically have to drag him into decent shoes for weddings. I'd never seen him in anything like this, and it looked brand new. A tiny alarm bell went off. Trying to be casual, I asked if he and his buddies planned any formal events. He just shrugged. Maybe, he mumbled. I nodded, pretending to drop it, but that seed of doubt had taken root. A few nights later, 3 days before his flight, I couldn't sleep. I was tossing and turning, restless for no reason. At one point, I turned over and realized Matthew wasn't in bed. I groggily scanned the dimly lit room, then heard a faint murmuring from the bathroom. At 1:45 a.m., who was he talking to? And why was he whispering? My stomach churned. I almost called out, but something stopped me. Instead, I just lay there listening. Eventually, he hung up and came back to bed. I slammed my eyes shut, pretending to be asleep. I felt him shift, as if checking if I was awake, then saw his phone light up as he scrolled through it. My heart pounded. I knew, deep down, something was terribly wrong. It was like a switch flipped. Suddenly, all his recent odd behaviors clicked into place. His phone always glued to his hand. The secret smiles while texting. The casual, oh, just a friend dismissals. The way he'd always turn the screen away, or quickly lock it when I walked by. He'd been hiding something right under my nose for weeks, maybe even months. The next morning, at breakfast, I decided to test the waters. Were you on the phone last night? I asked as casually as I could. I woke up to you talking in the bathroom. Without missing a beat, he looked me dead in the eye and laughed. What? No. You must have been dreaming, honey. You were half asleep. He was so good, so convincing, I almost doubted myself. But I knew what I'd heard. I wasn't crazy. He was gaslighting me, and that sealed it. I had to know the truth. He never let his phone out of his sight, and it was locked down tighter than a vault. But he'd forgotten one crucial detail. His MacBook was still linked to his iCloud. If I could get to that laptop, I could get to his messages. I could find out everything. That night I waited. I lay beside him, listening to his breathing, praying he'd fall asleep. Time crawled. Finally, his breathing evened out, deepened. He was out. My heart hammering. I carefully, oh so carefully, slipped out of bed, grabbed his laptop, and crept into the guest room. I locked the door, took a deep, shaky breath, and opened it. The moment of truth. My eyes immediately landed on a contact in iMessage. Wifey. For a split second, a flicker of hope. Maybe it was me. Maybe he'd just saved my number differently. But that hope shattered like glass when I clicked on the chat and started reading. My hands began to shake. My breath hitched. The horrific truth slammed into me. My husband, Matthew, was having an affair. It had been going on for 6 months with a woman in her 30s. They were exchanging obscene texts, reliving secret rendezvous, flirting outrageously, sending indecent photos. With every word, it felt like a knife twisting deeper into my gut. But then, as if things couldn't get worse, I found something that made me physically ill. She knew about me. This wasn't some naive woman who had no idea he was married. No, she was fully aware. And in their twisted little world, I was the other woman. Me. The woman who stood by him, who supported him financially, who gave him everything. The disrespect, the audacity, it was infuriating. And that trip to Europe? The one I'd paid for, the one he said was with his college pals. A much-needed boys' trip to unwind. Every single bit of it was a lie. He had taken my hard-earned money and used it to buy tickets for a romantic getaway with his mistress. While I was home naive and trusting, he was planning to wine and dine her in Europe. I can't even describe the rage that boiled inside me. It wasn't just the cheating. It wasn't just the lying. It was the sheer arrogance, the blatant, disgusting entitlement to take my money and spend it on her. As if our marriage, as if I, meant absolutely nothing. I had worked tirelessly, supported us both, and helped him when he had nothing. And he turned around and used that money to spoil another woman, all while looking me in the eye and lying so easily. It made me feel sick to my stomach. But one thing became crystal clear in that guest room. He was not going to get away with this. I took screenshots of everything. Every picture, every intimate detail, every incriminating message. I made sure I had undeniable proof of the man he truly was. Right now, as I'm telling you this, he still acts like everything's normal. He kisses me goodbye, texts me throughout the day, charming as ever. And I have to fight the urge to wipe that smug, deceitful look right off his face. This pathetic man, who couldn't even support himself, was going to take his mistress on a trip I unwittingly funded. The sheer nerve of it! I kept going over it in my head, every scenario, every possible outcome. And it always led to the same conclusion. I had to deliver epic retribution. I was done being the naive, gullible wife. I couldn't just stand by while he and she enjoyed a lavish trip I paid for. No, I wanted to see his face when he realized he was caught. I wanted to watch his world crumble in real time. So I devised a plan. Privacy? Forget it. I checked his email. I knew everything. The hotel, the flights, even the elegant dinner reservations. It was all laid out for me, like fate was practically begging me to act. And you know what? I would. I was buying a ticket. I was going to Europe. I wanted to see it. Together. I was going to catch them in the act, and I was going to make the most spectacular scene of their pathetic little lives. I wanted that moment to haunt him forever. A moment of chilling, sinking dread when he saw me standing there, witnessing his betrayal. This wasn't just about confronting him. This was about taking back control. Look, I know some of you might think I should have taken the high road, just walked away, exposed him, and left with dignity. But no. For years, this man had been feeding off me emotionally and financially like a parasite. He couldn't find a job, so I paid for everything: our house, our car, our mortgage, our bills. And yet, this unemployed loser found the energy to entertain another woman, arrange secret meetings, and mock me behind my back. He dared to call me the other woman, while his mistress traveled on my money. No, he was going to suffer. And yes, I was absolutely divorcing him. There was no explanation, no justification that could ever undo this level of treachery. I was speaking to a divorce attorney that very day. But first, I wanted to see her. The woman with the audacity to date my miserable, freeloading husband and mock me in their texts. I needed to show her she was nothing more than a sidekick to a man who couldn't even buy her dinner without me. I needed them both to feel the consequences of their actions. So, as planned, a week later I flew to Europe. The moment my jet touched down, I had laser focus. I wasn't there for the scenery. I was there to confront my cheating husband and his mistress. I checked into the same hotel, a day after them, staying under the radar. I wanted to catch them in the act. And believe me, fate was on my side. I was casually sipping a drink in the lobby, feigning indifference when they appeared. My husband and his affair partner, all dressed up looking smug. He was even wearing that exact suit, the one that first sparked my suspicions. And his little mistress? She looked utterly carefree, laughing, clinging to his arm. I didn't move yet. I reminded myself, patience. Instead, I hailed a cab and followed them. They pulled up to this incredibly upscale restaurant, the kind of place where couples go for romantic, candlelit dinners. From a distance, I watched them get seated, chatting and giggling like some happy young couple. It was utterly abhorrent. After 10 minutes, letting them settle in, feel safe, I walked in. The moment Matthew saw me, his face went completely white. His eyes widened in pure terror. He literally sprang up, dropping her hand like it was on fire. He looked like a deer caught in headlights. "What are you doing here?" he stammered. I didn't say a word. I just walked right up to him, and I slapped him. Hard. I have to tell you, that slap was the most satisfying thing I have ever done. A gasp went through the entire restaurant. People stared. Some whispered. But I wasn't finished. I picked up one of the water glasses from their table and hurled it directly at her face. She gasped, scrambling to wipe away the water, her makeup streaking down her face. Messy, just like her life choices. It was perfect. Then I pulled out my phone and hit record. They both panicked. She recoiled, trying to shield herself. He begged me to stop, muttering, "Please, I can explain." But I wasn't giving them a free pass. I made sure to document everything. The shock on his face, the shame on hers, the utter humiliation as everyone around them started to chatter. It was priceless. I just grinned, watching him fumble for words. Apologize, beg me to stop filming. Because for the first time in this entire fiasco, I was in control. Right there, in the middle of that fancy restaurant, I sent the recorded footage without hesitation to his entire family. His parents, his siblings, everyone. With a single click, I exposed the true character of their beloved Matthew. Then, I pulled the divorce papers from my bag and slapped them down in front of him. Matthew looked utterly bewildered, blinking at the papers as if they were written in a foreign language. What is this?" he whispered, barely audible. He was finally speechless. "I'm doing what you didn't have the balls to do," I told him, my voice firm. "I'm leaving your pathetic little ass. No pitiful explanations. No excuses." His mistress, still soaked in water, looked away in shame. With my head held high, every eye in the room following me, I turned and walked out. Some people nodded in approval, others looked amused. I didn't care. My work in Europe was done. I caught a flight home the very next day. Since that video dropped, Matthew's family has been in chaos. His parents are furious. His mother called me, mortified, apologizing profusely, saying she never knew her son was capable of such a thing. My own parents are equally enraged, telling me I deserve so much more than Matthew could ever provide. As I'm telling you this, I'm packing up Matthew's belongings. They're going right out on the front lawn. My dad even gave me a blunt warning. If he ever sees that man again, Matthew will regret it. I'm done with him. What a clown. 3 days after I got back, Matthew returned home. He looked utterly lost, like he truly believed he could just waltz back in and pretend nothing had happened. The moment he saw his boxes stacked on the front lawn, he started pounding on the door like a maniac, demanding to be let in. "What the hell is this?" he screamed. "Why are my things outside? Let me in." He actually sounded like he was the victim. But I stood in the doorway, arms crossed, completely unfazed. "You should be thanking me," I told him calmly, "for packing your things instead of setting them on fire, given what you did." He kept yelling, "You can't do this to me. This is my home too." I just laughed, a dry, bitter sound. "No, Matthew. This is my house. I pay the mortgage. I cover the bills. You were just a guest who massively overstayed his welcome." I told him his key was useless now. I'd already changed the locks. "And if you try to force your way in," I warned him, "I will call the police and have you arrested for trespassing." That silenced him immediately. For the first time, he probably realized just how badly he'd messed up. His tone softened, almost shocked. "You're seriously kicking me out?" "You kicked yourself out the moment you decided to cheat on me, Matthew," I replied. "You don't get to betray me and then expect to come home like nothing happened. Actions have consequences, and these are yours." I saw panic flicker in his eyes. He tried to speak, but I was done listening. "Your things are right there. Take them and leave. You and I are over." He persisted, sobbing and pleading, claiming he'd ended things with his mistress because of my prank. He begged for another chance, swore he'd be a better husband. I just laughed in his face. "You can try being a better husband to your next wife," I told him, "because I'm done with you. I don't take back cheaters." I made it clear he could only contact me through my lawyers. He had no choice but to take his belongings and get out. And then, about a week after all that, I heard from her. Matthew's affair partner. Her name is Ava, and believe it or not, she met my husband after he subscribed to her OnlyFans. Just thinking about that still turns my stomach. In her message, she actually had the audacity to claim this wasn't just a casual affair for her. She said Matthew swept her off her feet, and she honestly believed they had a true future together. Can you even imagine the delusion? But it got worse. She went on to tell me that Matthew had confided in her about our marriage, saying he was never truly happy with me, never felt like a man because he couldn't contribute financially, and that she made him feel better about himself in a way I never did. I nearly puked reading it. The sheer audacity of her, contacting me of all people, to share this sob story. She genuinely saw herself as the victim, and she wanted me to feel sorry for her, to understand how she and Matthew were destined to be together. And then the absolute kicker. She asked me to talk to Matthew, to persuade him to take her back. She was at her wit's end because he'd blocked her everywhere. She thought I would make an extra effort to help her reconcile with the man who cheated on me, as if we were on the same team, as if I owed her anything. I didn't even bother responding. I just blocked her. Honestly, she can burn in hell. 6 months have passed since all of that chaos. And honestly, I'm in such a better place now. Looking back, I barely recognize the person I was then. It feels like a lifetime ago. The divorce is final, completely official. Peace. No unresolved issues, no lingering ties. And it feels absolutely fantastic. I've done everything I can to move on from him. I feel this incredible relief, free to enjoy my life without his foolishness holding me back. There's no more hatred, no more animosity. My friends have been a huge support, always reminding me I deserve better. They're even pushing me to start dating again, but I'm not rushing into anything. Right now, I'm focused on myself, my contentment, my goals, my future. And one of the biggest decisions I've made? I'm going back to Europe later this year. My previous trip there was completely overshadowed by all that drama, and I refuse to let those memories define my time. This time it's a solo adventure. Just me, an open itinerary. No baggage, no drama. Just the opportunity to explore, to rediscover myself, and to make amazing experiences on my terms. For the first time in a very long time, I am truly content with the path my life is taking.